Hey everybody, welcome back to One Nation Weather. In this video, I've got details on the active weather pattern that continues with more flooding on the way for many parts of the country. We're talking about a new storm with severe chance this weekend in a small area of the southeast, but nonetheless, we still got to talk about that and the rainfall out of that system. Then we're tracking a potential northeast snow event out of that same storm, and then I've got to look at the pattern ahead. Big changes on the way. All those details in this video. Now, here's a look at your Thursday afternoon and evening alerts here. We've got dense fog advisories in those gray shades continuing over parts of the southern, central, and even northern zones of the plains. If you're in that gray color, if you see your county in that gray color on your screen, that is a dense fog advisory as of our Thursday evening. Got flood alerts, whether it's river flood warnings down here over parts of the Arklatex. Flood watches still in effect through parts of the mid, south, and southeast. We've also got winter weather advisories on off towards the northeastern United States. You know, you're taking a look at Weather Bell on your screen here. You can get a free trial of it in the description here. Glad to have these maps now available to me. But you're taking a look here. You got rainfall as of this Thursday evening time frame moving through parts of the Ohio Valley, the Northeast, even parts of the Midwest. We've got our next system bringing some light to moderate snowfall to parts of the Four Corners as well as parts of the Rockies as well. You can see as we progress through time, as we make our way overnight Thursday night, and into our Friday morning, we're going to notice some showers and storms continuing here over parts of the Mid-South, including parts of Louisiana, Mississippi, as well as Alabama. The rest of that system kind of moving on off towards the north and east with rain and maybe even some ice and snow there into parts of Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. Our next system begins to get its act together by the time we go into our Saturday morning, though. You can see that rainfall here filling in across parts of Oklahoma, Texas, but especially on over there into Mississippi, Alabama, and Tennessee. That's where some of those heavier showers and storms are looking to set on up. And as we make our way into the mid to late morning hours of Saturday, we could see some showers and storms that are on the relatively strong to even severe side push through parts of Alabama and Georgia. We'll have to watch that. It does look like this system will be overall a little bit more disorganized, though, due to a slightly weaker trough, especially a weak low-level jet supporting this system as it heads its way on off towards the north and east. You can see those showers continuing in that direction. And then notice we get a little bit of some snowfall there as we make our way into our Sunday afternoon, trying to break on out there over parts of northern Pennsylvania, southern parts of New York, as well as on over there into southern New England. That's as a colder dip in the jet stream kind of pushes on in briefly behind the system and kind of takes a break from that warmer air mass in comparison to average that we've been seeing. Behind that system, it just looks like that jet stream continues to kind of dip on down like so, but it looks like overall we're going to be seeing ridging kind of pop back on up into the plains behind that as warmer than average air begins to take hold again and a drier pattern takes hold for most of the country. Here's those 500 millibar wind speeds here from your European model showing you that positively tilted trough, kind of a weaker trough, but nonetheless a very well-defined one. As you can see, those yellows and orange shades and a very kind of a thin line there from parts of Nevada curling on down through parts of Texas. That begins shifting eastward as we make our way through the weekend, and by Saturday afternoon you can see with some of those kind of maroonish colors there in the trough into parts of Louisiana and Mississippi, meaning the active zone will be just east of there as that low-pressure system, and the disorganized one at that kind of makes its way on up through parts of the Ohio Valley. Now, your flood risk as we make our way ahead of that storm through our Friday, January 26th, you can see looking like a level 2 of 4 flood threat will be possible across parts of southeast Louisiana, southern Mississippi, southwestern Alabama, and then on over into the western Florida Panhandle. You can already see that next system bringing a low-end flood threat there from Oklahoma City to Dallas back there into the southern plains. Then as we go into our Saturday, this is a relatively quick moving storm, especially on the southern end. It looks like our flood threat is going to be on the highest end there from parts of eastern Mississippi all the way on up into parts of the mid-Atlantic, but it looks like the best chance is going to be right there into parts of the Appalachian Mountains of western North Carolina, North Georgia, southeast Tennessee, all those zones kind of filling in with at least a slight chance for that flooding. Now again, as we make our way into our Saturday, we are concerned about the chance for at least some isolated, maybe scattered severe storms, mainly with a damaging wind event. Wouldn't rule out a brief tornado or some small to medium-sized hail, though. This will include parts of southern Alabama through Montgomery on up to Talladega as well, there in the state, again, of Alabama. Parts of far western Georgia also getting included in this as well. As we make our way into the early morning hours of our Saturday, you can see showers and storms lighting up over parts of Mississippi. Could a few of these be on the stronger side as well? Yes, wouldn't be shocked if we get kind of a Friday night marginal threat over some of these zones, but it looks overall, based on what the Storm Prediction Center's guidance is saying, like these storms are going to be picking on up into their higher intensity here as they make their way on off towards the east, and you can see them filling on in over parts of central and northern Alabama especially. And this is going to happen potentially late in the overnight hours of our Friday night and into our Saturday, or kind of into the mid-morning of our Saturday here. So it's still, the timing's still up in the air, but it looks like these storms are going to be trying to develop at a slightly unfavorable time of day. So we'll kind of see how they fill on in. But here's your Weather Prediction Center forecast rainfall as we make our way just through our Monday. And again, this is just through the end of this system here. Of course, you might see some snow out of this in southern New England. We'll talk about that in a second. But your overall consensus on the rainfall there in those yellowish orange shades and beyond there, in that along that arrow I just drew, about 1 inch to 2 inches of rain being the consensus. You can see some of those redder shades, maybe 2 to 4 inches. Also some heavier rain in that zone I'm pointing at there in the Pacific Northwest, as we get kind of an atmospheric river there. By the way, notice how as this event starts out there just north of Dallas and into Oklahoma City, close to 1 inch of rain possible there during the early stages of this system as well. Now here we go. Let's take a look at the winter storm side of this system. Of course, we've been talking about the flooding. Now we're talking about the winter storm side, and from northern Indiana on over there into parts of northwest Ohio, southern Michigan, on over into parts of northern Pennsylvania and southwest New York. It does look like, as we make our way into our Sunday early morning, we could begin to see a kind of wintry weather event develop over this area. Now the details are still a little bit unclear. Looks like, again, I showed you that colder dip in the jet stream earlier as I was showing you the precipitation type and rate graphic there on Weather Bell. Now we're looking at radar Omega, and again, you can kind of see heavier snows filling on in over some of those zones I'm circling. Maybe even some wraparound snow into parts of Appalachia or at least the Ohio Valley there. Here are Sunday mid to late morning, so we'll just kind of keep an eye on how this system shapes on up, but it does look like this could bring a pretty locally heavy snowfall event here over parts of the Northeast. Could this include places like Boston, Massachusetts, on down there into Providence, Rhode Island, Hartford, Connecticut, all those zones? Yes, it could. Through New York, it looks like this will be a mainly snow event, but not down to New York City, as you're kind of under that warm front directly there. Maybe some ice briefly there in New York City. I just don't see this being a snow event for you there until maybe the very end as colder air comes crashing around. Again, though, this is a pretty quick moving system, and I don't anticipate a very long shot of snow moving through this area. Nonetheless, even down into parts of eastern Tennessee, maybe Nashville, parts of Louisville, Kentucky, all these areas, and into parts of West Virginia, could see some brief wraparound snow kind of closing out this event. Here's your model blend snowfall totals as we make our way through our Tuesday. Now again, with Maine, the next couple of systems that we're getting, the one that's going on right now and then the one that we're going to see this weekend, both of these systems bringing snow to you there. So in those blue shades, it's looking like at least about 2 to 4 inches of snow, locally higher amounts through south central Maine as well. Closer to 4 to 5 inches of snow will not be out of the question there. You can see though, overall it's looking like a solid 1 to 3 inches of snow, being an overall kind of number to look at here if you live in far northern Pennsylvania through southern New York. Again, locally higher totals though as you make your way into Vermont, New Hampshire, as well as Massachusetts, Boston, potentially close to 2 to 4 inches of snowfall there. But if you go down to New York City, the model blend really not even showing snowfall there, especially on the western tip of Long Island. So again, we've still got a lot of time to look at this system and analyze it, but as of now, it just looks like a mainly kind of light to moderate snow event on the northern end of this. I will tell you though that those totals for the forecast snowfall are likely to go on up though, because that is just a model blend. It's going to be a little bit more conservative and on the lower side of things. Now as we make our way through the rest of the weekend into early next week, we continue to see ridging really prominent here over parts of the north central United States through Tuesday of next week. Look at how warm this air is on up over parts of Montana, on up there into parts of the Dakotas. This is very warm air compared to average. High pressure just dominating the pattern up there, and that's really going to make a difference in how our weather turns. And again, this is drier, warmer than average air taking over the country. Really no colder than average spots as we head into the midweek time frame of next week. Moving on to Wednesday, then into our Thursday of next week. Euromodel trying to show some sort of system bringing a cold shot there into the northeast. Well, we can talk about that a little bit more next time. But you can see warmer than average air going to kind of lift north, and that looks to be the pattern, especially over the northern United States over the next 6 to 10 days. That's why that's where the Climate Prediction Center is showing our highest probability of those above average temperatures as we head during that time frame. So again, this is as we close out January and go into the first few days of February, that warmer than average air dominating there. But really all the way through the central part of the country, that's where the best chance for these above average temperatures will be. And yes, at times, these anomalies will be 15, 20, 25 degrees above normal, which is quite the stat there. And the only place looking to be cooler than average in that 6 to 10 day range down there into parts of South Florida and maybe along the West Coast. The West Coast being because it's looking like we're going to have a potential atmospheric river event developing there in the California coastline especially. Look at how, the moisture is going to be filtering on in and kind of returning to the country as we head into that 5, 6, 7 day range and continuing on from there. Eventually, you can see those greens fading on off into the plains. That's where we could eventually begin to see some new storms develop there. But for now, it's looking like most of the eastern half of the country remains drier behind this weekend system and until the 6 to 10 day range for there. Thank you so much for watching this video. Weather Bell Maps, you can get your free trial by clicking the link in the description. I showed them just now with those temperature anomalies earlier in the video as well. There are the rest of the credits below that. That's it for this one. Have a good one. See you next time.